Discover music news.
100% independent music news.
Discover Media, digital music news.
Talented Irish musician and author Dar.Ra is back with a groovy, new, tropical rock direction on the banging Rise Like the Sun. Rise Like the Sun is a Latin rock groove that cuts through the current climate like a hot knife through butter. The cover artwork pays homage to the Aboriginal national flag. Dar.Ra has written hits for EMI and 21st century artists, and had his songs featured in a Hollywood film starring Hilary Duff and some Snakes on Planes. The Irish rock star, DJ, and author greeted fans on British radio station London FM Digital. Answering questions to a big flood of fans, let's check him out.
Dar.Ra, and I'm here to answer a few questions from London FM. Firstly, I want to say thank you very much to all you guys who are supporting some of the releases that I've had out this year. It's been absolutely wonderful. I think the listeners are incredible, and I'm happy to answer a few questions. So let's get started. The first question is, how's the year been so far? So, like everybody, pretty tricky, but I try to keep my head down and do the best things that we were asked to do in order, to help the greater good, as it were. And I've just had my head in the studio just kind of writing and recording new material. You guys have played a few of those tracks. You played Stand Up for the Heroes, which I appreciate, and you also played Whiskey and Honey, which we had out this year, and we're just getting ready to put out the next single to run up to Christmas, a track called Rise Like the Sun, which is unusual because it's kind of very summery, but I kind of felt we needed something positive to uplift us through this Christmas period and out into the sort of new year. So it's been a tricky year, but then it's been a tricky year for everyone. How have you kept producing releases in the current climate? Well, you just get down and you kind of do your thing, and you write and you record and you kind of put it out and hope for the best. One of the big changes, I think, was actually doing everything kind of in-house here and not kind of farming stuff out so much. Really just having to kind of, particularly with Stand Up from the Heroes, because none of the studios were open. So, and I normally farm stuff out to another producer, kind of stroke mixer. So it's been a toughie because obviously you're just kind of having to get on with it. But adversity is the mother of invention, so you just kind of crack on. And I think this music speaks for itself, really. What's the effect been like on the music industry? Devastating, absolutely devastating. Live is kind of obviously take a complete sort of nosedive, as it were. And that's having a roll-on effect to the studios as well, because bands obviously, put that money aside when they're playing live, save up that money to go and sort of record their whatever they're doing, demos or putting out records, and a lot of stuff is self-funded now, so that's having a huge effect on some of the studios I've been talking to who are down on their bookings. So it's going to be interesting to sort of see how things kind of pan out for the next 6 months. What can the government do to help the industry? Just get your act together. Get your act together. It is a bit of a shambles, really. And test people before they go into a venue, and if they're kind of doing their thing, best go home. Masks, whatever it takes to get people back into live venues so bands can crank back up again. I was very lucky recently. We went up to an 80s weekender in Cheshire, and there were 3 bands on the Friday, Saturday and the Sunday, and everyone was behaving themselves in their little bubbles, having a little drink, having a little dance, singing along to all their favourite little 80s classics like Aha, and we saw, a Prince tribute band that were just awesome, and everyone was just so kind of appreciative of, hearing new and live music rather, and yeah, fantastic sort of vibe there. It was electric. So let's get live music back. Let's get kind of, you know, things kind of relatively supported as we move through into the new year. How important is the music industry to people now? Well, I think that it's proved, COVID and all the rest of it has proved that musicians and music in general is such a huge important part of people's worlds, and I think for a long time musicians have been taken for granted, and particularly in the music industry, because everything is kind of on gratis. You know, whatever you want to hear you can just pick up, and it's there. And I think sometimes people can lose the appreciation and the value that goes into making those records. So yeah, you know, I think it's bigger than ever. I think if we come out of this and people sort of kind of like, you know, get back into really appreciating music, because of course there are other things that you can detract yourself with, but I think like music is always going to be something that sort of brings us together and heals us and uplifts us, you know, more so than sort of other distractions that are out there on the market at the moment. What's your thoughts on artists making social and political statements on their platforms? I think it's good, if as long as it's the right thing and they're saying the right thing, then I don't really have a problem with it. You know, as long as it's about unity and bringing people together and, you know, just being truthful, then I think that it's okay. Tell us about the Stand Up for the Heroes campaign. So the Stand Up for the Heroes campaign was really about us kind of coming together rather than giving those frontline key workers a round of applause every week. I felt that they needed a song and that we could sing a tune, and Standing Up for the Heroes basically came out of that experience, and I just felt like it really captured a moment in time. And obviously getting people to purchase it or even donate. Here's the other thing, is like, if you're listening to it and you're enjoying it, donate to an NHS charity or a charity that you think is important to your community. So, you know, I think that's important. If you're listening to music on any kind of platform and it's just a freebie, I think, you know, think about donating. Instead of maybe even buying a record, donate £1 every time you hear one of my tunes. Donate £1 to a charity that you want to, you know, think's going to help the overall good, as it were. So what's the most standout event that you have had this year? Well, I think when we went up to the 80s festival in Cheshire, I was lucky enough to be asked to go to Liverpool as a guest of Vintage Radio and one of their amazing DJs called Leslie Ben, who also does a show on Vintage. And she was so gracious that she took us round Liverpool, and we had a day just kind of going around all those sites, Matthew Street and the Cop. We went to Anfield. And that was amazing. There's a great video also that we did outside Strawberry Fields. There's a wonderful kind of interview that we did, paying homage to the 96 at Anfield, and also the legacy that was left by some of those incredible artists that came through Liverpool in the 60s. Your new Kinda Normal album artwork, released late last year, depicted a couple walking down an empty, decaying high street in a bubble. Was that something you saw coming? So I definitely didn't see, you know, this as it turned out to be, but I definitely felt something was coming that would change the way that we kind of looked at life. So yeah, I felt that it was important that we didn't just carry on kind of consuming like everything was normal, because, you know, everything isn't normal, and it hasn't been for a long time, because we've got a lot of challenges that we need to face. And so that, you know, if you listen to the album, although I don't kind of get into any preaching, there's underlying storylines there that will hopefully kind of like, if you listen to the lyrics, you might go, you know what, maybe I should maybe move in a slightly different direction to the one I have been. Or if you're doing the right thing and you're loving the planet and loving everyone around you, particularly animals as well, then everyone's a winner, basically. How can people stay in touch with you? You know, just put in Dar.Ra, Dar.Ra, in a Google search, or Kushadeep, Kusheep, and I will come up in all the searches, and you can stay in tune with me that way. Once again, just big love to everyone that's tuning in. As I say, you know, London FM, phenomenal in terms of support for independent artists as well. So yeah, new single coming out, Rise Like the Sun, next month, so watch out for that as well. And have a great Christmas if I don't speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Discover music news.
100% independent